This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back to the show. Melanie McGhee joining us, our psychotherapist, writer, founder of Acceptance and Integration Training and the Alliance for Integrated Awareness. We're excited to have her joining us today live from Maryville, Tennessee, which I just got a little lesson on geography, East Tennessee. And I want to thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm doing great.
Well, I'm excited to discuss all the work that you're doing, and I think it's important for our listeners to obviously, get to know you on a personal level as well. So, before we begin, just give me a little overview of the work you're doing that we're going to discuss momentarily.
Acceptance and integration training is an approach to psychotherapy and spiritual well-being that I developed probably a little more than 10 years ago now. And it's being used across the country and into Canada to help people rapidly find relief and healing from their problems and get realigned with who they really are.
Wow, beautiful. You are good. That was perfect. Well, we're excited to dive deeper into all of that. And of course, all the people that it can help and all the ailments that we're facing. But before we do that, I would love to just, get to know you on a personal level. If you don't mind starting, just tell me a little bit about yourself, where you live, about your family, and all that good stuff.
I live in East Tennessee near the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, and that's a beautiful thing here in the fall now. And lots of like to enjoy time hiking with my husband and friends and our dog. We have two wonderful daughters and have been married for over 40 years at this point. So been around for a while, and I've been practicing psychotherapy since 1984.
Wow. And what led you to this career? Would you mind kind of backing up a little bit and tell us, a little bit about your family life growing up and how, you decided to get into this field?
Yeah, I think that I'm the first woman in my family to get an advanced degree. And
Me too.
yeah, and it was really my husband who I give credit to because he recognized early on that I was going to be bored if I didn't if I didn't seek out an advanced degree, I would just be bored by the end of my career. And he was right.
He
So
was.
I'm glad that I followed that advice.
Oh, wonderful. And I know you have two adult daughters, as you mentioned. Congratulations on having an amazing marriage and family life like that as well. So let's get started if you don't mind. And really, let's go over a little bit of the core mission and the values of, all this research at AAIT and what's happening.
Yeah, so we're moving forward with research. We're currently engaged. We're starting a study collaborating with the University of Tennessee and Northwestern University on investigating our approach to trauma and its efficacy with first responders. So that's a research project that's underway. First responders, they take care of our communities, and we want to make sure that we can
Yep.
support them in the important work that they're doing. And we have a nonprofit, the Alliance for Integrated Awareness, and we're working to advance equity in mental health care, recognizing that our mental health workforce is suffering more than we ever have as a profession, and we're facing higher rates of burnout and higher rates of need than we ever have. So we are working to advance equity in mental health care by ensuring that our mental health workforce is strong, and we're providing them with an approach that really supports them and helping their clients heal quickly in minutes, not months.
Wow. Okay. Now hold on. Your husband also, he is a professor as well. Could you just share a little bit about him and how so the two of you are working together with this, yes?
Yeah, so my husband David is a professor emeritus from the College of Social Work. He spent his career in the College of Social Work at the University of Tennessee, and he is still involved in research. He's submitting the IRB, he's involved in
Wow.
the research team. He and I are working together on a book about AIT. So he made the mistake when people were asking him, what are you going to be doing when you retire? He made the mistake of saying, I'll be doing my wife's bidding. So I have a list. And it's research and it's writing because we want people to have access to care that works quickly. And we recognize the importance of research. And he's a rigorous scholar. So I feel lucky that we have his support.
Wow, impressive. All right, continue. Where did you want to go to next? Because there's still a lot to learn about you and of course, the work that you're doing.
Um, well, what would you like to know?
Well, as far as before this even happened, what were you doing before you started working here? I know I'm reading your background, pretty intense. Where did you go to school? Just curious, and do your training as a psychotherapist, and what field were you in specifically before this?
So I was very young when I entered the field. So I had my master's degree by the time I was 25. I'm pretty sure that's right. And before that, I was working I was wandering the streets of Salt Lake teaching adolescents who were in trouble how to juggle and talk to them about their lives just walking around the city. So that was my first job before graduate school, my main job before graduate school. And and after graduate school, as I was leaving graduate school, I had two good friends of mine who were professors and mentors, and they both told me that if you want to master this work of therapy, you need to find master therapists and study with them. So I did. I was really fortunate. I got to study with master therapists around the world,
Mhm.
and it's through their tutelage and their mentorship that acceptance and integration training, AAIT, really came into formation. So I'm a lifelong learner. I'm still studying, and now the work is deeply rich for me. After 40 some odd years, I see some things I didn't see when I was 25.
I'm sure. I'm sure. And then I got to read some testimonials, which, if you don't mind me sharing, one in particular, Sarah Reidner, she's a licensed social worker. She says that she's been using AAIT in conjunction with, or sometimes instead of EMDR to treat trauma, which I'm going to ask you about in a sec. I'm starting to use the AAIT in private practice as well as in my agency work. She says clients have overwhelmingly accepted and found that AAIT is helpful and they appreciate that it works more quickly and deeper than talk therapy. It also supports talk therapy by giving clients better awareness of themselves, their feelings, and in taking responsibility of their own experience, which leads me to ask more questions about, AIT specifically, and what are some of the type of things it's helping clients with, and obviously those in practice, in private practice, who are helping clients.
It helps clients with automatic negative thinking, disrupting the patterning. So we actually just
Mm-hmm.
stop the pattern of automatic negative thinking, which can look like shooting on ourselves or others. It can look like negative self-talk or catastrophic thinking. That's one of the ways. It helps with craving. It helps with relationship problems. So if you have some kind of conflict with someone, it can help resolve the tension around that so you can go into the conflict with a little more clarity and open-heartedness about what you're needing and wanting and what the other person may be needing and wanting. Have a little more patience for that. Um, just about just about anything you're seeing a therapist for, you can use AIT with. There are some caveats we see with we just don't have as much evidence for some of the more major mental illnesses like schizophrenia. We just have a very, very low anecdotal evidence about its effectiveness in those populations. But for like mood disorders, anxiety, social anxiety, depression, yeah, it's tremendously effective. Trauma, tremendously effective and quickly.
Interesting, because someone else mentioned EMDR. I'm not sure if people are familiar with that technique as well, but is it similar or?
There is some similarity. I'm not trained in EMDR, so I'm not as gifted as some of the AIT trainers in talking about that.
Hmm.
There are some similarities, but what I hear from we have several people in our community who are actually in our practice community who are actually EMDR trainers, and they lean on AAIT. They use some elements of EMDR to kind of amplify the experience, but the more they've learned about AIT, they can use AIT to do that. And it's quicker. So
Yeah.
EMDR might spend a lot of time preparing someone for the work. And the study that I mentioned, this is a three session study. The first
Okay.
session is to orient, the second session is to do the work, and the third session is to follow up. So it gives you a sense of how quick. And EMDR does take more preparation before you're leading someone through the experiences.
Oh my goodness. Well, also, so you mentioned like symptom management, you say isn't enough, right? Because too often therapy really focus on coping, but not getting down to that root cause, right? So why do you believe that therapy should kind of move beyond the symptom management, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, because one of the principles of AAIT is the true self, who we truly are, is not encumbered by the limitations of a narrative. The true self is a being. And what happens when we dismantle the charged pain that someone is having, they begin to shed those ideas about who they are and enter a state that's truer to who they really are, beyond the ideas of conditioning received from the
Yeah.
culture, received from parents, teachers. And talk therapy takes too long.
Yeah.
We don't have the luxury anymore. Most of us don't have the resources of time and money to spend months and years trying to figure out why we are the way we are and address the symptoms. And with AIT, we take those symptoms and integrate the pain associated with them in within a session or two or three. And so then
Mhm.
the client's internal wisdom, who they truly are, that starts to shine rather than relying on the therapeutic imposition of insight. And maybe you're this way because of that experience. We don't do any of that.
Got it. Well, also, you mentioned, spiritual well-being, you said also is a part of this because the mental health care, you say usually separates, psychology from spirituality. But could you share kind of like this is requiring everything, right? And could you talk about how, you incorporate spirituality into therapy?
Yeah, so if we think about spiritual well-being, how it's recognized across religious and
Yeah.
spiritual traditions, we're looking at a handful of traits. One is compassion and empathy, present focused attention, and the capacity to make more skillful choices. So instead of being your choices being driven by some reactive pain, some symptom that you're trying to cope with, the choices are driven by your own wisdom. So what we see is this. What we mean by spiritual well-being is people regularly report increases in compassion for themselves and others as a result of using AIT. It's
Mm.
not something we're going at directly. It's a byproduct. And I actually didn't recognize it until I'd been practicing it myself for several years. And clients started reporting these increases in compassion for themselves and others, and increased ability to access empathy for other people. We
Yeah.
see that we're not going directly at
Hmm.
mindful awareness, but people report increases in mindful awareness as a byproduct. So the spiritual well-being shows up as an as a consequence of the work, not something we're going towards directly. And then
Right.
we see that people make, when I say more skillful choices, um, many of us have heard the Viktor Frankl quote, between stimulus and response, there's a space, and in that space lies my choice, and in that choice lies my freedom,
Yeah.
something like that. So, what happens with AAIT is we're able to reveal that space. So, with people enter this sort of spacious awareness where previously they would have been mad or
Yeah.
sad or anxious, and there's just openness. And from there, they can make a very skillful choice, not
Beautiful.
driven by pain, not driven by reactivity.
Got it. Well, if you are just tuning in, want to remind you, Melanie McGhee here joining us today. We're excited to talk to her. She's a psychotherapist, writer, founder of Acceptance and Integration Training and the Alliance for Integrated Awareness. And let's get started, with why really mental health does matter now more than ever, would you say?
I just think it's as essential as physical health and dental health. I think it's foundational to our well-being because We are making choices every day in our relationships, in our work, in our how we take care of our bodies. And if those choices are really clouded by pain, or they're clouded by untended mental health issues, then those choices are informing a
Yeah.
destiny that may not be in our best interest. It's the hidden cost is non-negotiable. It's worth the investment. And if
Got
we
it.
treated mental health like dental health, what could be possible in our world if everyone had access to really good mental health care?
Beautiful. And what would you say is most often misunderstood about mental health?
That it takes too long, that it's not something that people can do anything about. We are who we are, who we are. And what I would say is that we are what we're talking about with that is we are the conditioning. We are behaving and thinking and being in a way that we've been conditioned to behave. But once those conditions are start to fall away, we can see the truth of who we are, the beauty of who we are.
Mm. Well, also, you find, I feel like a lot of people do kind of neglect mental health. And I honestly, though, do want to credit one thing. I feel like the pandemic, as horrible as that was, it was something we all experienced. We had to experience a lot of loss, talk about burnout, right? And stress and change in life, loss of jobs, loss of a lot of transition. But I feel like mental health started to be talked about a little more, and it was like, oh, wow, this matters, right? And I also feel, I just hear much more about it on the news, that this is a real thing. And I feel like back in the day it was kind of like, I don't know if the word is taboo, or the word is, it's you know
Stigmatized.
yeah, exactly. And it wasn't good to talk about, because then we were crazy or something's wrong with us if we're not mentally feeling well. And I feel like, I just think we're getting better, as a whole, society, by accepting this. And there's more, I know, insurances that are accepting mental health and all these things. I think we're learning how important this is, which you obviously, as an expert in the field, really, really know. And if we do neglect our mental health, what are some of the things that you see start happening to us?
Oh, it shows up everywhere.
Mm.
Mental health care is not just for when we're in crisis, it's so we can thrive. It's how we stay
Yeah.
steady and connected. It shows up in our relationships, our sleep, when people start to notice sleep problems, energy levels, obviously physical health, unattended stress. It doesn't disappear. It
Yeah.
drives our reactions from the background. And then we're making unskillful choices. But once we start doing the inner work and are empowered with tools that actually work, that we can do at home on our own, like just as regularly as we brush our teeth, we feel lighter, clearer, more connected to ourselves and others. But when we ignore this, our inner world, those problems don't vanish. They just quietly run the show.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thank you for sharing all this. I'm excited that you're here, and this is really helping out, so many people. Let me ask, for people out there who are tuning in today and are feeling overwhelmed, which I know a lot of us are, including myself. I'm a mom of two, 10 and 8, single mom. Do it all, work, take care of the kids, go to the sports, and I'm overwhelmed, and I complain all the time. I'm overwhelmed. But what am I really doing about it? Nothing. I keep going and going, but then I'm getting sick. Then I'm feeling not well. My house is disorganized. I feel I'm just not getting what I need mentally as well. And I know I need help. I think we all need help to some extent, right? But the first step is probably acknowledging that you need the help. So, if someone
Yeah.
out there feels like me, or I mean, even more seriously overwhelmed, what would you say that they should or could start doing?
Well, first thing I think is to start by noticing
Yeah.
what you're experiencing, what you're thinking. I mean, we experience life through four elements: ties, thoughts, images, emotions, and body sensations.
Mm-hmm.
And these can bind us to limited thinking. It can bind us to intrapsychic pain. So the first thing is to start by noticing, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Don't try to fix it. What am I sensing in my body? What do I experience emotionally? What am I looking at? Like, am I running some catastrophic image over and over? Just take a breath and notice. And just, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. That's where it's at right now. And that's okay. And giving a few easy breaths just to acknowledge that that is your truth. Healing really begins with noticing and softening your attitude towards yourself, entering into a kind of meeting yourself with compassion rather than judgment.
Hmm.
And that starts to open the door to, well, what might I do differently?
Yeah.
You know, how
Interesting.
might I change things? Just giving myself permission to acknowledge acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean you have to like or approve of everything that led to the overwhelm or the experience of overwhelm itself. It just means you're allowing it without resisting it. Like
Beautiful.
the sky allows for the experience of storms. It's just happening.
Mm. Wow. You also, mentioned, which I think is important too, that, a lot of people sometimes feel, well, they can't afford it, they're not. But I love that you talk about equity as well, because these advanced methods, as you say, right, really shouldn't be just reserved for those that make more money, right? And it really needs to reach these communities where it's needed most. And I know you're helping with that, right?
Doing the best we can, that's right, to make sure that the therapists serving those communities are well cared for and equipped with an approach that's culturally adaptable and can really allow people to find freedom from that pain relatively quickly.
Beautiful. Well, we still have 5 more minutes left in the show. What else, Melanie, would you like to focus on and, of course, bring up for our viewers and listeners today of importance? I know, like I mentioned, we do have a few more shows, and I'm excited because I think by the end of this, we're going to have a really, really good understanding of our mental health here and all the benefits that this program, can help us with at AAIT in particular. So, we're going to feel more thoughtful about our mental health. We're going to believe real rapid change is possible, and hopefully be curious enough, right, to explore, the providers in the training and really be inspired by what we hear from, people who have gone down this path and have used this, professionals and personally clients as well, and how it's transformed their lives. So, what else do you want to kind of, touch upon for today, since we are kind of on the realm of, why mental health really matters, more than ever today?
Well, I think that what I would love to see people give themselves a little bit of grace. And we touched on COVID, and we didn't touch necessarily on the mental health impact of COVID, which is huge. We and the people who are journeying with mood disorders, often those experiences are amplified post COVID. We're still beginning to learn about the impact on mental health from people's experiences with COVID. So I think that if people walk away with nothing else, still, I'd love for folks to just meet themselves with a little more grace and acceptance, a little more kindness and compassion, and just recognize I feel overwhelmed. I feel sad. I feel anxious. I feel annoyed. That's where it's at, and that's okay. And just slowly begin to accept that that is a very human experience. It's part of life, but it doesn't have to be the driver.
Yeah,
Taking
absolutely.
responsibility for and tending to ourselves, to our inner state, that is the source of our freedom.
And we can live a better life, and we all deserve to. A lot of people sometimes are in a funk where you're not feeling so good, and you've tried other alternatives. You've tried. Why not? You have to try everything before you give up. There's no giving up. And I'm sure you have stories of that. Could you share a client story with us, that someone that you've helped, and then we can kind of end the conversation with this until we meet next time?
Sure. I'm thinking about a person who, and this is kind of common to all of us, we move through life sometimes feeling like we're not enough. We're not good enough, smart enough, brave enough, all the enough things. We're just not enough. And I'm thinking about a client I worked with last week, and this issue was very alive for her. And we worked with one of the things about AIT is we're working with opposites. And so we worked with this part of her that feels like she's not enough and discovered the goals and decisions of that part, and a part of her that recognized, you know what, I'm really okay. I'm enough just like I am. Everything right now is just enough. And in the integration of that, she left, and I've heard from her since then that she feels like, yeah, I'm enough. It's still challenging. Life is
Yeah.
still challenging, but I'm enough to meet that challenge. I'm not no longer walking through life blaming myself and shaming myself for all the ways I used to think I'm not enough.
Oh, wow. But we are enough.
We
And we're
are
helping to
enough.
change that, right?
Yeah, no, we're enough, just like this, just like right now. Yeah.
Great. Well, to sum up for today, do you want to leave us off with any type of quote or anything inspirational and a little preview maybe for what's yet to come?
Well, I think I'll leave you with one of the principles. AIT is built on a series of principles and phases, and one of them I just mentioned, and I think
Yep.
I'm going to leave you with this: is this to taking responsibility for and tending to our inner state is the source of our freedom from our pain and our wounds and our early childhood trauma and yesterday's trauma, and freedom to enter life and create a life that feels more satisfying, uplifting, and fulfilling.
Well, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And again, for someone that does want to reach out to get started to talk to you, could you share the websites of how we can reach out to you and any phone numbers or social media pages? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So people can reach the Alliance for Integrated Awareness at learnaait.com, or they can email info@learnaait.com and take a look there. They can find my website is Melanie McGhee at melaniemcgee.com. So they can find me there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And looking forward to the next time we get to connect, sweetheart. Thank you again for everything.
Thanks
And
so much.
you enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks
Thanks.
for teaching me some new stuff too. And I'm excited to work with you and talk more next week.
I look forward to it. Thanks so
Same
much.
here. Enjoy the day. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.